Pretty significant event in my lifetime was the U.S. invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan, and that was pretty. That one was pretty interesting because as that was going on, I was starting to become a little bit more knowledgeable in terms of politics and a little bit more aware of, I guess, our political relations with other countries and sort of the U.S. geopolitical agenda. The things started to fall in place a little bit more, and I finally saw in school throughout my 4 years of history. I wasn't fortunate enough to have good history teachers like we have here at Monte Vista. Everything that was given to me was through a very foggy lens, wherein Vietnam was a failure only because we didn't spend enough time there, and we went into Vietnam for freedom, and World War I was started by an unjust attack on one of our ships. So I never really was quite aware of other motivations besides, like, we're going to go to a country to fight them because either they're evil and we can determine that as like the first world, or B, we're going to help sort of free a country or spread democracy. And I mean, that kind of like crusades-like approach to international politics, I'm very jaded now, and I think the Iraq-Afghanistan conflict was the first time where I saw that, oh, okay, we can go into another nation and invade them with very loose, shaky reason, and we can convince the American public to support a conflict like that. So I think that also helped me understand conspiracy theorists more. I don't believe that 9/11 was. I don't believe that the U.S. government had any hand in 9/11, but I'm now able to see a little bit more how we can be very opportunistic. We can have a very opportunistic executive branch, and sometimes use events as motivation for carrying out international actions that I may not kind of agree with. So in a sense, like, to wrap it up, the Iraq-Afghanistan conflict got me very jaded with our political system. It's one of the primary reasons why I tend to kind of withdraw nowadays, and I'm not terribly interested in our political ongoings.
So do you blame anyone as responsible for the event?
For 9/11? I don't like to think about it too much. I mean, the more I think about it, I feel the less I am away from any sort of truth, and maybe that's because the truth is irrelevant, right? Like, to me, it seems like breaking down an emotional movie and trying to figure out what actual aspect of the movie allows it to resonate with an audience. I think the effects are much more important than the individual components, and that includes the people involved. I think I've never paid careful attention to any articles after the fact. I didn't pay terrible attention to it when it happened, and that's pretty much it. Another result of sort of my attitude that came from the Iraq-Afghanistan conflict was viewing the military in different ways. So one way that I now view the military is I view it as a potentially very useful resource for individuals that have fewer opportunities elsewhere in society. Like, I've had a couple of friends in high school who were morons, complete morons, who had a difficult time, who would have had a difficult time with basic construction work, and I don't mean this in terms of mental aptitude, because growth mentality, but I think that there are individuals that have a very difficult time adhering to society's rules, and that aren't necessarily deviants, but that just don't really have a place, and I think the military can be very good for those individuals and can sort of reform them in a way and turn them into a useful product for society to have. And I only wish that those tools were available outside of the military. I wish these students didn't have to sign, or these individuals didn't have to sign their lives away, literally and figuratively, to have these opportunities. But I'm fortunate that they have them. And again, it comes with a couple of other effects in that we're directly and indirectly subsidizing these opportunities, and they're coming from taxpayers, and our national debt is increasing with every new conflict. I'm not super comfortable with the amount of money we spend as a nation on our military, but I'm starting to see the effects, and I see other friends that I see that weren't marginalized by any means, but who were able to, who were community college B and C average students who have gone into the military and done quite well. So I'm not entirely behind the majority of our sort of military decisions within our country, but I definitely am able to see how it can be beneficial to certain members in society, and by extension beneficial to society as a whole, as long as, in my opinion, as long as we're able to stay out of the larger conflicts. I don't have as much of an issue with the military spending in the country, because it can be productive without resulting in the loss of thousands and thousands of people domestically and internationally.
The historical event which I would like to discuss here today is Iran and Iraq war, very famous war which went for a decade. And at that time I was a 8th grader, I believe, in 1970. It started in 1977, around that period. My father was a civil engineer. He was posted in Baghdad on Government of India deputation. So I have a very close, basically a close connection with Iraq that time. And what I found that basically this war, unnecessary war, was started by Saddam Hussein. He became the president during that time. And I also relate this war as a rise and fall of Saddam Hussein. And it has, if you see historically, this war had a very serious impact moving forward on the relation between Iraq, Iran, and America and rest of the world, because it first of all consumed millions of lives from both the sides, and it basically made mullahs in Iran more stronger, basically, and we are still facing that issue right now. And where Iran moved towards nuclear adventure and in that direction. And Iraq it was a very flourishing country at that time, very advanced country in the Gulf, and because of this war, the country went 20 years backward. And people started suffering because it was a beautiful country, nice country, and nice people there. But this war brought them 20 years back from the progress point of view. And ultimately, you have seen after that Gulf War followed, and then we have Second War after 9/11, which made this whole region very, very unsafe, and it started harboring the militants like Al Qaeda and all in that period. So very defining moment, this Iran and Iraq war, which created the whole cascade effect in future moving forward.